History remembers the headlines. We find the bylines. This is the unsung. The image of the American soldier in the 20th century is defined by his weapons, the rugged reliability of the M1 Garand, the stopping power of the 1911 pistol, the sustained fire of the Browning automatic rifle. These tools won wars and shaped geopolitics. History credits the institutions, the U.S. Army, Colt, Winchester, for these marvels of engineering. But behind every single one of them was a man who never served in the military, never worked for a large corporation, and never sought the spotlight. He was a self-taught tinkerer from Utah named John Moses Browning. He wasn't just an inventor. He was the essential, non-negotiable architect. So how was a man who held the blueprints to modern warfare written out of the story? To understand his erasure, you must first understand his origin. John Moses Browning was born in 1855 in Ogden, Utah, the son of a gunsmith. His workshop was his father's tiny shop. His education was disassembling and reassembling rifles. By age 13, he built his first firearm from scrap. He had an intuitive, almost preternatural sense of mechanics. He could visualize a complex action in his head and then build it. He wasn't an engineer by degree. He was a problem solver by instinct. His circumstance was the American frontier, a place where a functional, reliable tool wasn't a luxury. There was life or death. This environment didn't just shape his character. It defined the core philosophy of his designs. Everything he built had to work, every single time, in the worst possible conditions. This wasn't theoretical engineering, this was practical necessity. His early work focused on lever-action rifles, and he quickly caught the attention of the Winchester Repeating Arms Company. He sold his first patent to them in 1883, the beginning of a long and incredibly fruitful, if one-sided relationship. While Winchester became a household name selling his designs, Browning remained in his Utah workshop, quietly revolutionizing firearms technology one patent at a time. He was creating the future, but his name was nowhere to be found on the finished product. This set a pattern that would continue for the rest of his life, laying the groundwork for his eventual disappearance from the popular narrative. Browning's specific pivotal contribution was not a single gun, but a series of fundamental mechanical principles that became the DNA of modern firearms. Let's isolate his masterstroke, the short recoil-operated action. In the late 1890s, the world was racing to develop reliable semi-automatic and automatic fire. The core problem was how to manage the violent, chaotic energy of a gunpowder explosion, to cycle the weapon without it shaking itself apart or jamming. Everyone from Hiram Maxim to Ferdinand von Mannlicher was tackling this, but Browning's solution was elegant in its simplicity and brute strength. Here's how it worked. He invented a system where the barrel and bolt, locked together at the moment of firing, recoil a short distance together. Then a cleverly angled link or cam unlocks them, allowing the bolt to continue its journey rearward to eject the spent casing and load a new round. This action was controlled, efficient, and incredibly robust. It was a mechanical ballet happening in a fraction of a second, taming the raw power of the cartridge. The impact was immediate and profound. He first applied this principle to create the Colt M1911 pistol. Adopted by the U.S. military, it became the legendary sidearm for American soldiers for an astonishing 74 years, a testament to its perfect design. But he didn't stop there. He scaled it up for the Browning automatic rifle, the BAR, which gave squads of infantrymen in World War I and World War II unprecedented mobile firepower. Then he scaled it up again, creating the monumental M250 caliber machine gun. This weapon, designed near the end of his life, is so fundamentally perfect that it is still in service today, mounted on tanks, armored vehicles, ships, and aircraft around the world. Think about that. A single mechanical insight from a man in a small Utah workshop became the beating heart of infantry, vehicle, and aircraft armament for over a century. His role wasn't just designing guns. It was providing the very language in which modern firearms were written. He had given the world a reliable engine for automatic fire. So if he was this important, how was John Moses Browning forgotten by mainstream history? The mechanism was a combination of corporate branding and the anonymity of licensing. History often favors the great man theory, but it usually applies to generals and presidents or to the institutions they lead. The U.S. Army gets credit for winning the war, and Colt gets credit for making the pistol. The individual inventor, especially one who works as a freelancer, often gets lost in the shuffle. A specific mechanism of his erasure was his business model. Browning almost never manufactured his own designs on a mass scale. He was a pure inventor. He would patent his groundbreaking ideas and then license the manufacturing rights to major companies like Winchester, Colt, and Fabrique Nationale in Belgium. These companies then stamped their own names on the products. The public bought a Winchester Model 1894 or a Colt 1911. The name on the side of the gun was the name they remembered. Browning's name was on the patent documents, but not on the steel. His genius was absorbed into their corporate legacy. He became a ghost in the machine, absolutely essential to its function, but completely invisible to the user. And this wasn't an accident. It was an open secret within the industry. Executives at Winchester and Colt knew their bottom lines were almost entirely dependent on the next design to come out of Browning's mind. But their business model was to sell the brand, to build the legacy of Colt or Winchester, not to publicize the biography of the quiet, devout Mormon from Utah who was their source of innovation. He was paid well for his patents, but he was never given the public credit that matched his contribution. He preferred the quiet of his workshop to the noise of the boardroom, and the corporations were more than happy to oblige, letting their brand names eclipse the man who made them dominant. The modern reckoning with Browning's legacy is slow but ongoing. For decades, firearms historians, serious collectors, and gun enthusiasts have revered him as a titan of the industry. His name is legendary in those circles. The John M. Browning Museum in his hometown of Ogden, Utah, stands as a crucial monument, preserving his workshop and telling his story. But his true ripple effect is immeasurable. Virtually every modern semi-automatic pistol you can think of uses a variation of his tilting barrel, short recoil action. The principles he pioneered are still the foundation of firearm design today. Acknowledging his role changes our understanding of innovation itself. It proves that world-changing, history-altering ideas don't just come from massive corporate R&D labs or government-funded projects. They can come from a quiet workshop, from a singular, focused mind looking at a complex problem and seeing a symphony of moving parts where others saw only noise and chaos. John Moses Browning wasn't just a gunsmith. He was an artist whose medium was steel and whose legacy was security and power on a global scale. He armed the world, even if the world never knew his name. Who are some other inventors whose names were erased by the brands that sold their creations? Let us know in the comments below. And for more stories of the hidden figures who shaped our world, subscribe to the Unsung.